Hello everyone, my name is Rick Passek, the FlyFish Fanatic, and welcome to my tying bench. Continuing on with my month of midges, chironomids, buzzers, whatever you want to call it. Today is going to be a super simple, super simple bloodworm pattern. This is one I've done on my channel once before, probably a year and a bit ago. Maybe a little bit different, but it's super simple, really basic. Okay, ooh, this camera's on autofocus. Super basic and super effective. So we're going to start off with a Hends BL 550 clink hammer hook. I really like the shape of the clink hammers for these. For the underbody, going to go with some Semperfli hollow tinsel in red. For the overbody, some Hends half round micro, half round micro body glass. It's the real micro, it's the really small. I'll be using some in this case I've got uni thread. I ran out of the Semperfli Classic waxed in this red, so I'm using the uni, but I do prefer the Semperfli. It's got just a little bit brighter of a color. And then for the head section, I'm going to be using some Nanosilk just for the head section. So like I said, this is a really super simple fly. Doesn't take much to tie this guy. So I'm just going to start my thread. I'm going to take my body glass and I'm going to, it's got a bit of a, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's kind of half round. It's like a D shape. So I'm going to put the flat down. Okay, when I catch it in here, catch it in to about there. Just 4 or 5 turns and then stretch it really well. Keep this thin. I got some dubbing in there from my desk. I'll have to get rid of it. I think I got rid of it. So just really thin. And I'm going to go down around the corner here. And then I'm just going to come back up and get that body glass out of my way and just kind of hang it over the edge of my back of my vise there. See if I can flatten that down. It doesn't really matter because it's all going to be taken care of at the end anyway. Now I take some of that red Semperfli red hollow tinsel. And this is the medium. Yeah, it's the 132, so it's the medium. Again, all the way down around that corner to where you stopped with that body glass. All the way. And then come back forward. And once I get to the front here, I like putting in a quick little whip finish. Just wrap my hollow tinsel forward, slightly overlapping. Just want to make sure that it's mostly covered. If you got a little gap, it really honestly in this pattern doesn't really matter much because you're not going to see any of that. This is just giving that sparkle underneath the body is all this is going to do. And then I'm going to tie that off. A couple on top, a couple in front. Just going to give that a full turn because I want to get that right off of there. Okay. Then I'm going to take this body glass and I'm going to wrap this forward. Actually, no, I'm going to do another half hitch because I know with this body glass myself, I always have a tendency of, when I'm doing this, I have a tendency of pushing my thread out of the way. I have a tendency of pushing my thread, so this way at least it doesn't pop off, right? So sit real tight at the back, one wrap right off the material. Then I'm going to start coming forward, and I'm wrapping pretty tight here. Like I want this tight. I want it thin. So that's why I first of all use the micro, and then I'm stretching it, probably stretching it, well, almost as far as it can stretch. Don't worry if there happens to be a little bit of a, like there, right there, there was a little bit of a gap. I could go back and just make sure it's a touching wrap, but It's really not a big deal for this pattern, and you'll see why at the end. At the very end, you'll see why. So now, couple on top, couple in front, couple on top, couple in front. Turn this, give it a really good stretch, nip that off, just tie that down, that little tab that you just didn't get all of it. Just tie that down a bit. 3-turn whip finish. Cut that off. Put on my Nanosilk. Coming back a bit. I want to come back over top of that body glass a little bit. Excuse me. I'm using a magnifying glass because I'm a blind old bugger, and sometimes I'm blind in one eye, so it kind of doesn't help. I'm just gonna adjust that back. I think that's still in focus. Let's just make sure it is. There it is. Actually, I'm going to turn on this light. Maybe that'll actually help you guys see it a little better. Hey, look! So again, I'm just going to come back over top here. I want to come back a few millimeters, create a bit of a black head on this one. That's about it. It's just creating a slight little black head. Because if you look at bloodworms, most of them have this little black head. So I'm just coming back over top. Okay, and now I'm going to take my Gulff Thinman, and this is why when I said that it doesn't really matter if you've left a bit of a gap, because this Thinman, or their UV resin, will make up all those little gaps. So I'm just going to take a little bit there. Sorry for that it's out of focus. Whatever time I turn the vise, it goes out of focus. But so I'm just making sure that I'm covering my entire fly, including that black head. And I just want a very thin coat on this. If it's a little bit too much, take it off. All right? You just want a really thin little coat. Gonna let this just settle for a second before I hit it with the UV light. And you see that it's becoming a really smooth fly, and that's because it was the UV resin is going into those little grooves and gaps left by the body glass, right? So it ends up being a really smooth fly. There she is. She's finished. Like I said, super simple. I will put a layer, a coating of some Sally Hansons Hard as Nails over top, or whatever head cement you like. I just like doing this because I find it ends up a little smoother. I haven't found any resins out there yet that don't end up with a slight stickiness or whatever you want to call it. Whether that is the Gulff or the Solares or the Semperfli or any of them, Loon, I found they all have just that little stickiness at the end when it's dry, right? So I always end up doing a little Sally Hansons and she's finished, right? That's it. Like I said, it's a super simple little bloodworm pattern that works extremely well. I fished this one as close as possible to the bottom, to the ground. If I want to fish a bloodworm higher up, and sometimes when you've got those gases that build up in the spring and they burp up, and they'll release a chunk of the substrate of the bottom, and that chunk will float up, and then you'll see that some bloodworms are caught in that, and they'll fall off in little chunks. So you'll have like 10 or 15 bloodworms in a row, like coming off. That's when I start seeing that kind of stuff, that substrate breaking off. That's when I go and turn around and I start using stuff like the apse worm, which it doesn't look like a bloodworm, but it's got like multiple little dangles hanging off of it. It kind of looks like a blob, if you want to call it that, of bloodworms that fall off that substrate that's floating to the top after the gases burp them up, right? So, but yeah, so early season is my favorite time for this. I do use bloodworms all year round because chironomids hatch all year round, and this is the starting process, if you want to call it that, of them emerging is the bloodworm stage, and that's where they live in the substrate in this stage. So they are around all year, but springtime I find that bloodworms work the best, especially this one. So, alrighty. Well, don't forget, guys, if you want to check out my my first book, Freshman Fly Fisher's Beginner's Guide, it's on Amazon and stuff, on Kindle right now. My second book, The Insect Guide, will be up on Kindle. Hopefully, I'm not going to promise you guys, but hopefully the next 2 months or so, maybe 3. It's going to be a bit more work because of all the pictures and stuff. So, and yes, I still got the giveaway to do, and yes, I'm still trying to figure it out. Can't quite figure out how to do it because I can't see the names of all the subscribers. So I'm having a problem trying to figure out, if I can't see the names of the subscribers, how do I put them all into a draw? So I'll figure it out one way or the other, and if it doesn't work in the next week here, if I can't figure out a way, then I'm just going to have to do a post and get you guys to comment on that post, and anybody that comments will be part of the giveaway. That's the only other way I can do it. So, alrighty. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Super simple, super effective. Tie lines.